Swear loyalty to our basic law, the Constitution. Where's the consternation? Why is he calling for their death? Why is he calling to have them hanged if he also agrees that they need to follow the Constitution? Over the weekend, I saw a video of Donald Trump that is alarming. It is very troubling, and it explains a lot about his lashing out, his off the rails, unhinged, increasingly off the rails and unhinged. I realize everybody's like, he's always off the rails, he's always unhinged. But it's reaching a fever pitch. It is different than normal, and it's because he feels insecure. He feels afraid. He is finally facing his mortality and facing what could be an administration-ending scandal in the Epstein files. The video that I saw is Donald Trump out with, I assume to be his grandson, outside the Oval Office, out of the White House, in his presidential walk of fame nonsense. And as he's walking, he's kind of pigeon-toed and struggling. At the very end of the walk, you'll see him. It's hard to tell from the video, but to be fair to Donald Trump, no need for that, there is a slight incline. And people are going to be saying that, oh, well, he's walking uphill. That's why he had to. The struggle that he underwent to get up that slight incline at the end of the walkway there doesn't explain the fact that he is struggling to walk, which is leading a lot of people to re-bring up the notion that, did Donald Trump have a stroke? Remember when he had the stroke mouth when he's sitting there next to Melania and he could barely manage to stay awake? This again. So Donald Trump is feeling vulnerable. He's feeling weak. He's feeling afraid. And he's lashing out. I'm going to show you some Truth Social posts that are just absolutely unhinged. Not only is he lying about his poll numbers, but he's calling into question the suitability, the qualification, the authorization to represent a constituency, being United States citizens if you happen to be a migrant. If you migrated here, if you immigrated here from another country and then gained citizenship, he's calling that all into question. And he's posting weird AI images of him being a golden-clad king while Chuck Schumer kneels before him. It's all really a problem, not only for Donald Trump, but for us as Americans. First, let's lead with his struggles to simply walk. We are owed transparency about our president's health, without a doubt. But let's start with Donald Trump's unhinged Truth Social nonsense. And let's start with the golden-clad, gold-armored king, a massive human being in his armor, sitting in his throne with his very Nazi resembling eagle above him, with his crown that looks to be Chuck Schumer. I guess that's maybe Elizabeth Warren and Adam Schiff are kneeling before him. And then the thing that he shared on Truth Social is, none shall escape his justice. Not the justice that provided by the Constitution, the rule of law, equal protection under the law is outlined in the 14th Amendment of the Constitution. No, not that. His justice. The only thing missing is they didn't capitalize his as like when in the Bible or when Christians talk about Jesus or his or the Lord. They always capitalize anything referring to God. So the only thing missing here is a capital H in his. Here's another one shared by the President of the United States, a man who has taken an oath to support and defend the Constitution. Would you support the idea of foreign-born citizens being barred from running for office? Yes or no? Like it's a grade school, do you like me? Circle 1. President of the United States sharing this. You'll notice, would you support the idea of citizens foreign-born or not, they are citizens. The same party that claims being an American is something special and better than the citizenship in any other country, that apparently there are grades, there are classes of citizen. If you're foreign-born but a citizen, you're not a real citizen. And Donald Trump apparently endorses this idea. And then he goes on a rampage, continuing to level threats of death against members of Congress who've urged military members to follow lawful orders, to take their oath to the Constitution seriously. And Donald Trump posted this image that you're looking at right now and have been for a while I ramble a little bit. And what's so strange about him offering this as some kind of a gotcha to these Democrats who have said, hey, follow lawful orders, take your oath seriously, are these two lines. The United States boldly broke with the ancient military custom of swearing loyalty to a leader. Article 6 required that American officers thereafter swear loyalty to our basic law, the Constitution. Where's the consternation? Why is he calling for their death? Why is he calling to have them hanged if he also agrees that they need to follow the Constitution? While many other nations have suffered military coups, the United States never has. Our American Code of Military Obedience requires that should orders and the law ever conflict, our officers must obey the law. Strange that he would share that while calling for the death of individuals who are saying the very same thing. That, by the way, is a plaque, I believe, outside the Army Academy, the military academy in West Point. And then he wants to convince MAGA world in this weakened state that he is in, that his poll numbers are top notch, y'all. They have never been better, says Donald Trump. He posted this: I have just gotten the highest poll numbers of my political career, all in caps like a demented grandpa. While my great work on the economy, capitalized for some reason, has not yet been fully appreciated, it will be. Things are really rocking. Stopping wars and foreign relations seems to be a strong suit. Also great, the border and stopping crime. Errant, weird capitalization again. I predict that the economy, with the already highest stock market ever and prices coming down sharply, down from the Biden disaster, will soon be at the top of the list. Make America great again. Well, that is lies. This is from The Economist, not some liberal rag. 308 days into Donald Trump's term, the president's net approval rating is negative 16 points, up 0.6 points this last week. 40% approve, 57% disapprove, 4% not sure. There's always that 4%, right? So look at this chart. This chart here that shows November 17th, this is the date that the poll was. And they're comparing it against when Obama was at the same point in his first term, plus 6 points. Biden, negative 7 in his term. Remember, COVID, all the other things, people were unhappy. And then Donald Trump's first and second terms at this very same point, he tied himself, negative 16 points. People are unhappy. Donald Trump realizes that. He's weakened by the fact that he is physically unable to do the job. He's physically unable to walk like a normal person. He's certainly physically unable to do the job. He can't walk up a slight incline. He is in decline, cognitively, medically, policy. Everything about Donald Trump is failing the nation. After all of the promises during the campaign, he's failing, and he knows it. And he's afraid because he's a weak and feckless coward. What do you think? I invite you to this conversation. Let's have it in the comments below.
We have some breaking news. We'll come right back. A Fox News alert. The case against former FBI Director James Comey is getting dismissed. The judge ruling the appointment of interim U.S. Attorney Lindsay Halligan violated the Constitution.
Well, this is some stunning news, expected, yet still shocking news. James Comey's case has been dismissed. Letitia James's case dismissed. Of all the cases that we witnessed come against Donald Trump because of his criminality, after all, he was convicted of 34 felony counts in one case, And the only reason the other cases went away was not because a judge dismissed them because they were improperly brought, because the prosecutor who brought them, the U.S. attorney who brought them, was illegally appointed. No. They were dropped because Donald Trump took control of the DOJ after the election and squashed the cases, made them go away. Not because he's not guilty, not because he didn't commit the crime, not because there was impropriety relative to the prosecution, none of that. It was because he took over the DOJ. When Biden was in office, everything was above board. In fact, when Biden was in office, the DOJ moved too slowly, molasses-like. Sitting on his hands was Merrick Garland. And now cases are being dismissed because of illegality, because of improper handling of grand jury proceedings, because of faking indictments that were never presented to a grand jury. That's what we're seeing, and a judge has ruled it out. Now, I'm going to play very briefly Audie Cornish from CNN announcing exactly the details of what's going on with Caitlin Palance, who was in the courtroom. And again, a stunning development. And then I'm going to play a clip of a very morose Fox News panel announcing it in their very peculiar Fox News way. But first, CNN.
In a minute, but we actually got some more breaking news. So this time, and this is big, we have learned that the Justice Department's case against former FBI Director Jim Comey and the New York Attorney General have both been dismissed. CNN's Caitlin Palance is covering this. Caitlin, okay, what happened here? I don't know which case you want to take first.
Well, they both are being dismissed, and for essentially the same reason that Lindsay Halligan, the Eastern District of Virginia interim U.S. attorney sent there by Donald Trump, not Senate confirmed, that she doesn't have the power. What the judge here has found, this is Judge Cameron Curry from South Carolina. She came into the district, heard arguments from both of the lawyers on these cases against Lindsay Halligan's role. They argued that she didn't have the power because she wasn't Senate confirmed, and thus these indictments are invalid. The judge is agreeing with that. Judge Curry is saying that the Attorney General's attempt to install Ms. Halligan as interim U.S. attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia was invalid, and because Ms. Halligan had no lawful authority to present the indictment, James Comey's motion is granted, the indictment is dismissed. Now, the judge does mention that this is without prejudice. So in legal speak, that means that it could be brought back by another prosecutor in the Eastern District of Virginia if they took it through the grand jury again. But everything Lindsay Halligan did at the end of September, beginning of October, and since then, this judge is saying she couldn't have done that. She didn't have the authority. She was not confirmed by Congress, by the U.S. Senate as the Eastern District of Virginia's U.S. attorney. And thus, the president went out of his bounds, and the Attorney General, Pam Bondi, also overstepped her bounds in sending Lindsay Halligan into this district to get these indictments against both Comey and James.
All of that should be some kind of an announcement to MAGA world that things are not well in the Donald Trump administration. What he charged Biden with, which was the weaponization of the Department of Justice, the weaponization of government, the deep state out to get Donald Trump, all of that's bullshit. And now that he's complained about it and law and order is back, we're back, baby. We're going to do things above board. We're going to follow the law. We're not going to ignore the courts. That's not true. As decided here by a judge, that his U.S. attorney, his hand-picked, illegally appointed U.S. attorney, was acting improperly, illegally, in the execution of her duties as the U.S. attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia. That he's weaponizing the government, using the width and breadth and power of the Department of Justice to go against his political rivals. James Comey, Letitia James, and there are others. There are others. Now, what's great about this is watching the meltdown that is currently taking place over at Fox News. Watch when they announced, juxtapose the facts only, nothing but the facts with CNN, and then the very depressed, morose delivering of the news to the Fox News audience.
Leslie, forgive me, but we have some breaking news. We'll come right back. A Fox News alert. The case against former FBI Director James Comey is getting dismissed. The judge ruling the appointment of interim U.S. Attorney Lindsay Halligan violated the Constitution. The judge also criticized the DOJ for allowing an FBI agent who viewed Comey's privileged materials to testify to the grand jury. Now, the judge also tossed the case against Letitia James.
Do you think, and I really want to know, do you think that there is some awakening taking place with the economy based on all of the promises of Donald Trump? Even though he's over on True Social constantly posting memes and images of promises made, promises kept, while he lies repeatedly over and over and over at a breakneck pace about the health of the economy, about what the tariffs have brought, about who pays the tariffs, about his health conditions, about his mental state. Everything is a lie from Donald Trump. The fact that he's working in service to the country and has nothing to do with his business, while his net worth is increasing orders of magnitude just since he took office. Is MAGA waking up? That's the question. I will pose that to you. This is good news for a man I have no love for, James Comey. I believe we're in this situation because of James Comey. Had he acted honorably and not brought to light new allegations that ended up not being new allegations, scaring people about Hillary Clinton, who I also no giant fan of, this is good news. James Comey did not deserve prosecution. He did nothing wrong relative to this crime. Letitia James, she's just being persecuted by Donald Trump because she sought justice against him for the citizens of New York. Again, what do you think? You can comment below. You can also call the voicemail line, 714-576-4054. Of course, as always, when you got good news, you can email me, daily@dollemore.com. I love and appreciate you very much. Please consider supporting this work, this independent media channel. If you have others out there that do more for you, that bring you more value than me, support them. Everybody needs a rising tide lifts all boats, or whatever the saying is, and your $2 a month or whatever it is to become a member or support somebody on Patreon elsewhere could really be a difference in their work and their production. That would be great. But if it is me, that would be great too. You can click the join button below, become a channel member here on YouTube, or go over to patreon.com/IDoubtIt podcast. So this is breaking news as well. Mark Kelly looks to be singled out by the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, and Donald Trump for stripping his rank and prosecution under the Uniform Code of Military Justice. They might be bringing him back to active duty to persecute him. And for what, you may ask? For insisting, even as Donald Trump posts on True Social, that you can refuse illegal orders. Donald Trump has been nonstop posting about this, acting as though denying an unlawful order from the President of the United States is akin to sedition or treason, punishable by hanging to death. That's what's been happening. Donald Trump not only posted this, he's been posting things like this. It's a plaque outside the military academy, West Point. And in the plaque, it says that our American Code of Military Obedience requires that should orders and the law ever conflict, our officers must obey the law. Now, Donald Trump can't be brought back to active duty to be court-martialed or punished because Donald Trump dodged the draft on multiple occasions. He's a weakling, a feckless coward. So there's no way to bring him back to active duty. But that apparently is what Pete Hegseth, the skinny-legged douche, wants to do to Mark Kelly, captain, former astronaut, former Navy fighter pilot. This is what they posted on Twitter. Official statement. The Department of War has received serious allegations of misconduct against Captain Mark Kelly, United States Navy retired. In accordance with the Uniform Code of Military Justice, 10 U.S.C. Section 688 and other applicable regulations, a thorough review of these allegations has been initiated to determine further actions, which may include recall to active duty for court-martial proceedings or administrative measures. This matter will be handled in compliance with military law, ensuring due process and impartiality. Who believes that? Who believes that this will be in accordance with due process and impartiality? Further official comments will be limited to preserve the integrity of the proceedings, despite your Twitter official statement on Twitter. This will be a kangaroo court if it happens. I have my doubts. The Department of War reminds all individuals that military retirees remain subject. Here comes the threat, by the way. This is a threat to any other service member who retired, who has a retirement pension after having served a lifetime of noble and honorable sacrifice to the United States of America. This is the thanks you get from fucking Pete Hegseth and Donald Trump. The Department of War reminds all individuals that military retirees remain subject to the Uniform Code of Military Justice for applicable offenses and federal laws such as 18 U.S. Code Section 2387 prohibit actions intended to interfere with loyalty, morale, or good order and discipline of the armed forces. How, in any way, do these particular military members reminding service members that they can defy illegal orders, only follow unlawful orders? How does that interfere with loyalty, morale, or good order and discipline of the United States military? Any violations will be addressed through appropriate legal channels. And then finally, all service members are reminded that they have a legal obligation under the UCMJ to obey lawful orders, and that orders are presumed to be lawful. A service member's personal philosophy does not justify or excuse the disobedience of an otherwise lawful order. You're correct. They're correct about that. Interesting that whoever wrote this official statement on Twitter from the Department of War is saying the exact same thing that Mark Kelly said in the video that now is bringing him in peril of legal action by the military. Remember what the video was that they're so up in arms about.
I'm Senator Alyssa Slotkin.
Senator Mark Kelly.
Representative Chris Deluzio.
Congresswoman Maggie Goodlander.
Representative Kristi Houlihan.
Congressman Jason Crow.
I was a captain in the United States Navy.
Former CIA officer.
Former Navy.
Former paratrooper and Army Ranger.
Former intelligence officer.
Former Air Force.
We want to speak directly to members of the military
and the intelligence community
who take risks each day
to keep Americans safe.
We know you are under enormous stress and pressure right now.
Americans trust their military,
but that trust is at risk.
This administration is pitting our uniformed military
and intelligence community professionals
against American citizens.
Like us, you all swore an oath
to protect and defend this Constitution.
And right now, the threats to our Constitution aren't just coming from abroad,
but from right here at home.
Our laws are clear. You can refuse illegal orders.
You can refuse illegal orders.
You must refuse illegal orders.
No one has to carry out orders that violate the law
or our Constitution.
We know this is hard
and that it's a difficult time to be a public servant.
But whether you're serving in the CIA,
the Army,
or Navy,
the Air Force,
your vigilance is critical.
And know that we have your back.
Because now, more than ever,
the American people need you.
We need you to stand up for our laws,
our Constitution,
and who we are as Americans. Don't give up.
Don't give up.
Don't give up.
Don't give up the ship.
You see, the real problem here isn't that video. The real problem is that Mark Kelly is an opponent politically of Donald Trump, that he's unafraid, that he is unashamed to go on Face the Nation, for instance, this clip from this weekend, where he called it like it is about Donald Trump and the agenda of the administration and the running roughshod over the Constitution, the disregard and disrespect for the rule of law, the same items that brought them to make a video compelling people to remind them about their oath to the Constitution and their oath to follow lawful orders. Watch him on Face the Nation.
the president tries to intimidate them. He tries to intimidate Congress. He looks at government accountability as a nuisance. And I think it's really important for people to understand, Margaret, that the message he sent a couple days ago was he declared that loyalty to the Constitution is now punishable by death. Those are serious words. Coming from the President of the United States, he's trying to intimidate us. But, Margaret, I'm not going to be intimidated. You just heard Jason Crow. He's not going to be intimidated either. We both served our country. We swore an oath. All we said is we reiterated what basically is the rule of law, that members of the military cannot follow illegal orders.
So as this is developing, we will follow it absolutely. Listen, as a former United States Marine who spent many years on active duty, this is repellent. It is disgusting. It is disgraceful. It is not honorable. And if anybody should be brought up on charges under the Uniform Code of Military Justice, it's Pete fucking Hegseth, a little whimpering coward, a simpering sycophant, bootlicking lapdog for Donald Trump. What do you think? I would love your opinion out there. You can comment below this video wherever you're watching it. If you speak out against the fraud, waste, and abuse that is being perpetrated against the United States taxpayer, the wild, lavish use of not a personal protection detail, but a whole SWAT team to protect his girlfriend. Remember when the whole thing in this second term was to root out fraud, waste, and abuse? That the government, these fat cats in the deep state have been living high off the hog, utilizing taxpayer dollars to get rich and treat themselves like royalty. Remember that? Remember all of that? Do you remember? Because I remember. I also remember this headline from the New York Times that I'm getting ready to read you. Kash Patel under scrutiny for use of SWAT teams to protect his girlfriend. The FBI director's travel on government jets has contributed to growing questions inside the administration about whether he is using taxpayer-funded resources inappropriately. Do you think, New York Times? Do you think? Remember that little clip that I've played a couple of times on the show of Kash Patel on some podcast or whatever, talking about the inappropriate use of the G5 jet of Christopher Wray, the previous FBI director, how up in arms he was? Let me remind you again.
And I'm not saying take all their funding. I'm not the defund everything guy. I'm just saying Chris Wray doesn't need a government-funded G5 jet to go to vacation. Maybe we ground that plane. $15,000 every time it takes off. Just a thought.
Minimum. Well, it appears that same Kash Patel doesn't feel that way anymore. Not only is he gallivanting off to concerts and then off to his girlfriend's home in Nashville, Tennessee, aboard a private jet funded by the United States government, by the United States taxpayers, he's also deploying SWAT teams to protect not his wife. That would still be wrong. His girlfriend. When Alexis Wilkins, an aspiring country singer dating the FBI director Kash Patel, sang the Star-Spangled Banner at the National Rifle Association's annual convention in Atlanta in the spring, she arrived with a formidable protective posse, a SWAT team from the Bureau's local field office. The two agents, members of a specialized unit trained to storm barricaded buildings and rescue hostages, that's what a SWAT team is for. It's not a personal protective detail, had been sent there on Mr. Patel's orders, but seeing that the event at the Georgia World Congress Center had been secured and that Miss Wilkins was in no apparent danger, they left before the event was over, according to 6 people with knowledge of the incident. She noticed that they were gone. And the New York Times says, so did her boyfriend. Soon after Ms. Patel ripped into the team's commander, saying that his girlfriend had been left without taxpayer-funded defenders and slamming what he saw as a failure to communicate their movements up the chain of command during her time on the convention floor, where she sang and chatted with attendees, the people said. He was concerned that Ms. Wilkins, a high-profile conservative, might be attacked by people who had threatened her online. Mr. Patel's heavy use of taxpayer-funded resources during his first 9 months on the job has contributed to growing questions inside the administration about whether it exceeds the bounds of standard practice. This includes an intense use of security to protect himself and his girlfriend. He also used a government jet for some of his recreational travel, such as a golf trip with buddies to a private resort in Scotland over the summer. Directors must fly on government aircraft for their travel because of required access to secure communications equipment, but using government jets for business trips or to return home if they have settled lives in other parts of the country to serve in Washington requires planning and coordination. Government security protection for Ms. Wilkins to attend events or performances has drawn particular attention, including criticism from some of the same right-wing online personalities who supported his efforts to shake up the Bureau. This is someone who works for Steve Bannon, before I get to it. Is she considered Kash's spouse, Grace Chong, an influencer who works with Trump ally Stephen Bannon? Asked on X recently about Miss Wilkins' use of Bureau resources. Quote, is that why she's getting protection? Because if not, then why are we paying for this? The officials and others interviewed for this article spoke on the condition of anonymity for fear of retribution, because that's always at play here. You might get retaliation from the FBI director or the president of the United States if you speak out against the fraud, waste, and abuse that is being perpetrated against the United States taxpayer. The wild, lavish use of not a personal protection detail, but a whole fucking SWAT team to protect his girlfriend. The director has his own security detail that protects Miss Wilkins if the two travel together. But current and former FBI officials said that the use of SWAT agents to protect Mr. Patel's girlfriend was highly unusual given their specialized and often dangerous duties, such as executing high-risk warrants and investigating cases. They're not a personal protection detail. Mr. Patel's use of these resources has drawn sharp criticism from some former agents, including Christopher O'Leary, a former Marine who, as a senior FBI agent, oversaw a specialized team that conducted high-risk missions. Quote, his abusive and excessive use of the GV jet for his personal adventures and the assignment of SWAT-qualified special agents to guard his girlfriend are indicative of his lack of leadership experience, judgment, and humility, he added, referring to the Gulfstream model of Mr. Patel's government plane. Former officials with expertise in tactical operations have also raised legal concerns. It was unclear, the New York Times says, if members of the SWAT team assigned to Miss Wilkins would be afforded protection against civil liability akin to what other federal agents who might use deadly force as part of their official duties receive, according to several people with knowledge of the discussions. And then finally, when SWAT teams go on missions, agents are supposed to make plans describing the parameters of the operation, except in emergencies, former officials said. None of this is being done. This is Kash Patel, who, when he wasn't the FBI director, criticized the FBI director because the FBI director at the time was an enemy of Donald Trump in the mind of Donald Trump. And now that he's the FBI director, he's lavishly using taxpayer-funded jets, flying to Scotland for golf tournaments, flying to concerts at Penn State, and then after that, absconding off to Nashville, where his girlfriend lives, protecting the girlfriend, non-wife, with a SWAT team. The hypocrisy is palpable and tasty, is it not? What do you think? I invite you to this discussion. We can have it in the comments below the video.
So with that, let's hand out some checks, should we? Now, I will say, this is a document that verifies that it will be direct deposited into your accounts, okay? All right, so I will call your names.
With this administration, everything is a performance. Everything is performative. Everything is a lie. They want you to seem like they are strong and tough. They want you to seem like they are They want you to think that that they are patriotic and loving the country and not white supremacists at all. And then everything that they do just flies in the face of that. After the government shutdown, there's many cabinet members who are out there right now promising bonuses and here's some checks and we're going to take care of the people who really did the work. And they're not doing that. They're handpicking a few people out of the thousands that were forced to work without pay and giving them bonuses. And in the case of Kristi Noem, she flew out, I think it was to Las Vegas, and handed out checks. And now we're learning that the checks she handed out were fake. Fake checks, fake patriotism, fake strength, fake non-racists. Watch like 30 seconds of this from Kristi Noem, and then we'll get into this article.
So I want to thank you all for your service. Thank you for continuing to be examples that we can point to our kids and our grandkids of who they would like to grow up to be and the kind of people that they would be, and recognizing the important work that you do. So with that, let's hand out some checks. Should we? Now, I will say, this is a document that verifies that it will be direct deposited into your accounts, okay? All right, so I will call your names. Mikola? Did I say it correctly?
And those checks weren't real. Check out this headline from the Daily Beast. Ice Barbie makes big show of handing out fake bonus checks. Kristi Noem was in Las Vegas to hand out bonuses to TSA employees and announce a $1 billion investment in security checkpoint enhancements. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem spent Saturday in Las Vegas, where she held a press conference featuring several TSA agents employed at the Harry Reid International Airport, and made a show of handing out bonus checks that she admitted were not actually checks. It was for the cameras. After announcing the $10,000 bonuses, which, like the bonuses given to air traffic controllers who worked without pay during the government shutdown, were only offered to certain employees, Noem said. Let's hand out some checks, should we? This is very akin to the thing Donald Trump did during the campaign, that Elon Musk did during the campaign, acting like they were going to be giving money out to people and then didn't. Only a few. Because it's for the cameras. Because what people remember is the handing out of the checks, the $10,000 bonus checks, that especially in a moment like this, in a Trump economy that is so withering on the vine, it could be very useful. It's not to all of them. Not every TSA employee got one. And then the ones that they did get were fake. Apparently, at some later date, they're going to have it direct deposited, but the check was just a farce, just a performance. She quickly clarified, this is a document that verifies it will be direct deposited into your accounts, okay? Before handing out the documents to the 29 TSA employees gathered behind her. Quote, we know it is our responsibility to not only keep travelers safe, but also to make sure that we're getting them to their locations safely and in a manner that is pleasant and enjoyable, and an enjoyable experience for them and their families, Noem said. Secretary of Transportation Sean Duffy announced similar $10,000 bonuses for air traffic controllers on Thursday in a social media post. Quote, Santa's coming to town a little early, Duffy wrote. Quote, President Trump wanted to give air traffic controllers and technicians bonuses for showing up to work every day during the government shutdown, and today is the day. He added that 776 patriotic men and women would be receiving the bonuses. Union officials who spoke to Axios were concerned by the fact that the employees receiving the bonuses represented just 7% of the workforce, meaning that thousands of employees who consistently reported for duty during the shutdown were excluded. Again, it's a performance. They can cut some checks to 776. Does that mean it's like 1777? Why that number? Again, it's a performance. It's performative patriotism. It's masturbatory for the audience to, oh yeah, they're patriots. They're really taking care of the American worker. No, they're not. And then finally here, government workers, like those employed by TSA, were expected to work without pay during the recent government shutdown, the longest in United States history, and brought to you by the Republican Party. You see, Doge was just an exercise in performance that they're now shuttering. All of the bluster and all of the breaking into federal buildings and locking people out and commandeering lists of social security numbers and voter and taxpayer data, all of that was to enrich rich people. It was so Donald Trump and some of these other ghouls will have access to your personal financial data. And they can do with that through, I mean, look, how many times have you seen ads on YouTube about data farming, about data mining, about your information being profitable to companies like Facebook and others? Well, if it's profitable to Mark Zuckerberg, do you not think it's profitable to Elon Musk? What could he do with that information? Anyway, the point is that this administration is dedicated to the prospect of enriching themselves, to enriching the billionaire class, which, by the way, the cabinet is almost entirely made up of. Wildly rich individuals. If they're not multi-millionaires, orders of magnitude richer than any of us, they're billionaires. Elon Musk was almost among them. Linda McMahon, Howard Lutnick, Scott Bessent, all of these people are worth hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars. They don't care about the $10,000 bonuses to just a handful for the messaging. What they want to do is enrich themselves. I'm kind of off the track here, but you get what I'm saying. Anyway, I would love to know what you think. Let's have a conversation about this. You can do it in the comments on Facebook. Make sure you're liking and following Dollemore Daily on Facebook, and make sure you're subscribed here on YouTube. I would appreciate it very much.
You know the best way to bring your inflation rate down? Move from a blue state to a red state. Blue state inflation is 0.5% higher.
When an administration messages, it's easy to do so if you're not lying, because everybody's on the same page, because everybody's telling the truth. We saw that with Biden. We certainly saw that with the Obama administration. And it's never been that way with Donald Trump. Everything is a performance, like I just talked about. Everything is for the cameras. Everything is to put forward a narrative that is just not in step with reality. And that's what we're seeing right now. Donald Trump is guaranteeing us the economy is on the right track. Everything is taken care of. Prices are down. I want to get the quote right. The economy is unbelievable, he says. Prices are down. Not going to be down. Not eventually going to be down. Not we got it under control. Things are A-OK despite what you're experiencing in the economy at large, in the grocery store. This is Donald Trump.
The things also, the economy is unbelievable. It really is. It's been incredible. And I think one of the great numbers that I've ever heard, think of it, over $17 trillion being invested in our country. And when you think of, compare that to the last administration, but really compare it to any administration, compare it to any country. There's never been a country with anything like that. That's in a period of 8 months. And we've already broken every record possible. There's never anything even close. So we'll go back to all of that. Prices are down. Oil is down. We're down $58 a barrel. We're going to be hitting $2 for gasoline. I think we're going to be at $2. And the previous administration, they were at $4 and $5. They were going up much higher.
So if the economy is unbelievable and prices are down, why is it his vice president is saying, hey, we just be patient. Just be patient. That's all I ask of you.
And even though we've made incredible progress, we understand that there's a lot more work to do. And the thing that I'd ask for the American people is a little bit of patience.
Why would we need patience? For what would we need patience if the economy is unbelievable and prices are down? Not just J.D. Vance, not just his vice president, his Secretary of Agriculture, Brooke Rollins, she's saying the same thing, that those numbers are coming down and we will see real relief real soon.
not surprising that the driver, and of course, no new trade deals during those 4 years, no way to move the food out. So when you look at all of that in total, it's no surprise that what we inherited was an absolute economic mess. But those numbers are coming down. There are a few outliers, and you mentioned Secretary Bessent talked about a couple of those yesterday. We're working on those extremely diligently. But as we're restructuring the entire economy, as we're bringing down inflation, bringing down fuel, bringing down labor, Americans, we believe, will see real relief very, very soon. Those numbers are already down, but much more to come.
Wait a minute. I thought the prices were down and the economy was unbelievable. What's all this talk about coming down? And that soon we'll see relief. I thought the relief was already here. The economy was back on track. We're hot as a pistol, right? This country was dead before under Biden, but now everything's great. And the worst example of this, maybe from this weekend, just a batshit bananas thing that Scott Bessent said, the Treasury Secretary, the guy worth over $500 million. He said, if you really want to experience inflation, apparently inflation is a thing, even though Donald Trump says it's not. If you really want it to decrease your inflation, move to a red state. You hear that, poor people? You hear that, people struggling to pay your bills right now in the moment, struggling to pay your rent right now? The best thing for you, even though you can't save money to actually get ahead, is to save money to move to a state hundreds, if not thousands of miles away. Right.
Kristi, I can tell you that the Council on Economic Advisors has a study. You know the best way to bring your inflation rate down? Move from a blue state to a red state. Blue state inflation is 0.5% higher, and that is because they don't deregulate, they keep prices up, energy is higher.
Just according to the consumer prices, inflation was at 2.3% back in April. In September, 3%. But let me ask you about tariffs, because there's this big announcement on tariffs.
Why would we need to move to a red state to lessen the impacts of inflation, Scott Bessent? The dear leader, your boss, Donald Trump, said the economy's unbelievable and prices are down, not going down, not gonna be down. They're down. So why would I need to move to a red state? And on that note, let's talk about moving to a red state and where you'd be moving and what kind of outcomes there are there. Since we're talking about economic measures, let's talk about wages. Here's from SoFi, the average U.S. salary by state. Salaries tend to be higher in some areas of the country. Cities on the West Coast and in the Northeast have some of the highest average salaries. Now, they're not breaking this down by blue-red, but let's take a look. The top salaries in the United States of America: Massachusetts, blue state; New York, blue state; Washington, blue state; California, New Jersey, Connecticut, Maryland, blue states. Highest salaries. Which regions pay the least? The South is home to states that tend to pay the least: South Carolina, Kentucky, Louisiana, Alabama, Arkansas, West Virginia, Mississippi. Are those the red states people should move to, Scott Bessent? They'd be really doing great, right? This is akin, also in alignment with when you're paid higher, you have the better chance of being out of poverty. When you're paid lower, a better chance. Here's poverty mapped by states. Highest poverty rates: Louisiana, red state; New Mexico, well, there's an outlier, that's a blue state; Mississippi, Arkansas, Kentucky, West Virginia, Oklahoma, Alabama, all red states. Lowest poverty rates: Colorado, Vermont, Minnesota, New Hampshire, Utah. Oh, there's another outlier, Utah. And you'll notice it's number 51. That's because they count Washington, D.C. in these metrics. So it would mean the 51st. Let's look at health outcomes. How healthy would you be? What are your chances of a good health outcome in these states? Your top states, there's a couple of outliers, by the way. Hawaii, blue state; New Jersey, blue state; Connecticut, blue state; Idaho, Utah, red states. Hey, good for you, Idaho. Bottom states in health outcomes: Mississippi, Tennessee, Arkansas, West Virginia, Louisiana, red states. And then since we're talking about health, let's look at life expectancy, and then we'll end it here. This is from CNBC. Here are the states with the longest and shortest life expectancies, according to the CDC. West Virginia, Mississippi, Alabama, Kentucky, Tennessee, Louisiana, Oklahoma, Arkansas, South Carolina, and Missouri. Wow, what do those states have in common? All ranked in the bottom 10 states for life expectancy, respectively, the CDC found. West Virginia, which has an average life expectancy of 74.4 years, ranked the lowest for both men and women. Meanwhile, here are the states with the best life expectancies, the longest life expectancies. Hawaii took the top spot for the state with the highest average life expectancy at 81 years. The Aloha State was followed by California, New York, Minnesota, Connecticut, Massachusetts, Washington, Colorado, and New Jersey, and Rhode Island to round out the top 10 states where you'll live the longest. Those all are blue states. So tell me again, Donald Trump and J.D. Vance and Brooke Rollins and Scott Bessent, tell me again how things are good, going to be good. And also, if to really make your life good, move to a red state. Look, having grown up in a red state, almost exclusively actually, I lived in 5 states by the time I was 9 years old. Idaho, Washington, Arizona, Arkansas, Missouri I lived in. I went to elementary school in Missouri, by the way, the Ozarks. Norwood Elementary School. All red states. All shitty outcomes for money, for retirement, for the economy, for health, just terrible. So tell me again how the Republican governance and their policies are making people's lives better. They're ultimately making people's lives shorter. So what do you think? I invite you to this conversation. I think it's an important one. We can do it in the comments below the video, wherever you're watching it.
Marjorie, who has been an instigator of a lot of this hate that we see as it relates to the MAGA movement, I don't know if she really fully understood how bad she was making it for other people.
I talked over the weekend about the surprise announcement that Marjorie Taylor Greene was rage quitting the Republican Party. She can't handle a little pushback from Donald Trump for more than a few hours before running with her tails between her legs, quitting midterm. What is it with Republicans? Sarah Palin did the same thing. She ran off to have a reality TV show. I pray to God that is not what is taking place with Marjorie Taylor Greene. What a nightmare of a television program that would be. But she is doing the same thing, quitting midterm. She's not waiting until after the midterm. She's not announcing I'm not going to run for office again and then doing her duty, the duty she swore an oath that she would continue to do. I guess you don't take an oath to, I swear I will continue to fulfill my duties in my full term. They don't do that. But certainly when you elect a politician to an office, you expect that they're going to serve the term, right? Well, she went just a day or 2, maybe 3, just long enough to get her pension, which when she turns, I think, 62, maybe 57, so just a few years away, she will have, I think, $85,000 a year guaranteed, and there are health benefits and other retirement benefits that come to congressmen, people in Congress who serve just 5 years. Just 5 years, and she's going to be getting, I think the number is like $85,000 or $86,000, $87,000 a year. I think that's what it is. No matter what it is, maybe it's less than that now that I'm thinking about it. But no matter what the number is, she's doing it to financially benefit herself. She's not just leaving because she's already worth like $30 million. I talked about this last weekend. Go find that video. But there are many members of Congress who are colleagues of hers who are sounding off, being asked questions about this. People who have been targets of Marjorie Taylor Greene, racist attacks from Marjorie Taylor Greene, Jasmine Crockett being one of them. And she was on with Jake Tapper over the weekend, and he was asking specific questions about Marjorie Taylor Greene's retreat. And the reasons that she's giving, which are, I'm being attacked by Donald Trump now. I just can't even handle this. And Jasmine Crockett really laid bare what the motivations are here and the weakness that is within Marjorie Taylor Greene, that she can't muster even a bit of bravery, even a little bit of strength in the face of 10 minutes of attacks from Donald Trump. Unlike people like Jasmine Crockett, who is constantly under attack, under threat from Donald Trump. He's maligning her looks and her IQ and everything, all of the other racist tropes that you hear from white supremacists like Donald Trump, who attack specifically, often, black women. Here is Jasmine Crockett answering a pretty poignant question from someone I don't have a lot of respect from, or for, Jake Tapper.
Shocking announcement from Congresswoman Greene. What went through your mind when you first heard she was going to resign on January 5th?
You know what? Honestly, I was like, you've got to be kidding me. You're on the other side of the president for 1 week and you can't take the heat. Imagine what it is to sit in my shoes, to not only be on the opposite side of him, but to have people like her who are constantly fanning the flames of hate. And imagine what those threats look like when you literally are someone like me. But at the end of the day, I know that I serve the people of Texas 30. And so my job isn't to be there and necessarily do whatever is going to make the president not be on my back, but instead is to focus on making sure that I can push forward with policies that are positive for Texas 30.
I mean, that's something I should have said. I should have said on Saturday that she can't, I want to get it right. You're on the other side of the president for 1 week and you can't take the heat. Imagine what it's like to be in her shoes. Seriously. Imagine what it's like to be an actual enemy of Donald Trump. Because even after he's continuing to be on True Social, calling her Marjorie Trader Brown. What? Clever? What is he doing? While doing interviews and saying, she's a really nice person. I like her. We just have different philosophies. This is a woman who has brought division to our nation. She has been a fomenter of talking points about a new civil war for America, a national divorce. She is a racist and a conspiracy theorist and a vile anti-Semite. She is everything you've heard about her. Says that Q from the QAnon conspiracy, well, we know he's a patriot. She's psychotic. She is unintelligent. She is not qualified or capable to be a representative. The problem is, who are we going to get to replace her? Is it going to be that Colton Moore dipshit from Georgia who's in the state legislature? Is that who they're going to pick? I don't have much hope for her district. I don't. Jake Tapper continued the questioning of Jasmine Crockett on this matter about her leaving. And it got a little spicier. It got a little bit more accurate. Here's Jasmine Crockett telling the truth again.
This really speaks to the fact that Marjorie, who has been an instigator of a lot of this hate that we see as it relates to the MAGA movement, it's just interesting that I don't know if she really fully understood how bad she was making it for other people. And now that they're doing it to her, I just got to say, well, why is it that everyone else is able to stand and you can't?
One of the reasons I'm going so hard and have for so long against Marjorie Taylor Greene, and I'm not getting bamboozled by this rebrand that she's attempting to do with her hands at her side while she speaks softly and doesn't tell people to get the fuck out of the country who are foreign. I'm not going to forget all of the damage done. And when you don't make an apology, there's no forgiveness to be offered. She has not said, I was wrong. She has not said, I made mistakes. She has not had a mea culpa moment. She continues to double down on all of her wild radical policy pronouncements and ideas for the country, that she's America first and America only. She's still attempting to strip health care from millions of Americans. She's still a racist troll. She still talks about the jihad squad and other members of the squad. She is who she is. And until she says, look, I was wrong about all of that, she doesn't get forgiveness. If you're offering her forgiveness without her actually changing, you need to be offering that forgiveness to someone else. You need to be offering that fairness and charity to someone else. Stop giving the benefit of the doubt to someone who is still endeavoring to tear at the fabric of our country, who still says Donald Trump was cheated in the 2020 election. She is anti-democratic. She is anti-constitutional. She is anti-American. She's a fake-triot. I, for one, will not be offering freely forgiveness to someone who hasn't earned it, who doesn't really want it, who's not admitting she made mistakes. Anyway, what do you think? Tell me where I'm wrong. I get all kinds of messages. You're going too hard on Marjorie Taylor Greene. Give her a chance to change. She'll change, and she can give me a chance to offer forgiveness. That's the way I see it. How do you see it? Something very interesting happened over the weekend. Twitter rolled out a new policy where you could click the little 3 dots on somebody's account and scroll down and see where their account is based. And it really laid bare the fact that many of these MAGA influencer accounts are not American. We know people like Ian Jong, what's the guy, the kid, Ian Miles Jong or whatever his name, Ian Jong Miles, whatever that little troll is. He's not from here. He's not from the United States. So there were a few accounts that we already knew about because it's very publicized. But it is remarkable the number of accounts that are like MAGA, Warrior X, Ivanka News, blah. All of these accounts that purport to be Americans, American patriots, looking out for the betterment of our country while supporting Donald Trump. So many of them are not from the United States. This is the headline from Daily Beast. Top MAGA influencers accidentally unmasked as foreign trolls. A new feature on Elon Musk's Twitter has given deeper insight into the online America First movement. You see, a lot of times politicians, your least effective politicians, your more cult member politicians like Ted Cruz and so many others, they kind of exist in the vacuum of Twitter and think it's real life. And I've said many times over the years that Twitter is not real life, and this is just more proof of that. That these people from Nigeria or Eastern Europe who are making money off of the dissension in the ranks of America, off of the divisiveness of American politics, and that's the economic element of this is a problem. But also the fact that American conservative politicians are putting their finger in the air to see which way the wind's blowing based on these foreign malign actors who are endeavoring to sow dissension among Americans based on politics. And when politicians look at it, oh, there's so many MAGA people out there, I don't want to cross MAGA, only to learn that there's not so many MAGA people out there. These are foreign people capitalizing on the problem. The new About This Account feature, which became available to Twitter users on Friday, allows others to see where an account is based, when they join the platform, how often they have changed their username, and how they downloaded the X app, the Twitter app. Upon rollout, rival factions began to inspect just where their online adversaries were really based on the combative social platform, with dozens of major MAGA and right-wing influencer accounts revealed to be based overseas. Dozens of major accounts masquerading as quote-unquote America First or MAGA proponents have been identified as originating in places like Russia, India, Nigeria. In one example, the account MAGA Nation, we'll throw up some images here while I'm continuing to read the article. In one example, again, the account MAGA Nation X, with nearly 400,000 followers and a bio reading Patriot Voice for We the People, is actually based in Eastern Europe. How interesting. Eastern Europe, where could that be? That's not where MAGA patriots are. That's where Russia and the former Soviet nations are. Here's another one. An Ivanka Trump fan account, Ivanka News, has 1 million followers, has 1 million followers, this account. and frequently posts about the dangers of Islam, the threat of illegal immigration, and support for Trump. That account is based in Nigeria. Apparently, Republicans and Republican politicians are just champing at the bit to be the next scammed individual from a Nigerian prince who just so happens to have millions of dollars in an offshore account, and he just needs your help to get him it, and he'll give you a finder's fee. Users on Twitter reported the tool being taken down just hours after it went live, with some speculating that the uncovering of the origins of far-right accounts may have had something to do with its removal. However, it appears to have been reinstated at the time of this writing. And it appears to be reinstated right now, too. I just went back and looked through. And all this tells me is that MAGA is fake. Donald Trump is fake. The agenda is fake. The support is fake. The poll numbers are fake. For as much as they talk about fake news and fake headlines, they're fake. It's projection. It's another element of projection. The thing that they are guilty of, they blame the other side of. There's not this million army strong MAGA movement. People go on Twitter and think, oh, I guess I'm going to be part of the crowd. Anyway, we'll just leave that one there. We'll leave this one short for you. Let's contemplate. You can comment below. Let me know what you think. I'm not on Twitter anymore. I go there to get screenshots and I go there to download some videos sometimes, but I'm not active on Twitter. My @Dollemore account is just so my username doesn't get stolen, but I've deleted all my tweets. I don't follow anybody. I don't use Twitter. I don't use it for messaging. I don't take part in Nazis' social media platforms. Yes, I'm still on Facebook. There are certainly down elements of using any social media platform because they're all owned by billionaires. But Twitter is especially noxious. Twitter is especially bad, and I'm not certainly going to be paying for a blue check mark, paying the Nazi, profiting the Nazi. Anyway, now I'm off on a personal issue that I have with so many progressives and other liberal and democratic influencers and content creators and activists who are paying Elon Musk their $8 a month or however much it is, I don't even know what it is now, for their blue check. Gross and antithetical to the way we should be behaving. But that's just my own thing. Anyway, what do you think? Again, comment below. You can also call the voicemail line 714-576-4054. And you can email me daily at dollemore.com. I'm open to being wrong. I'm sure I'll get dissent. I love and appreciate you very much. Be genuine and take care of one another.